Hey everybody, this is Tony, Taint the Lord A7, and here's another week and another playlist. Just a bunch of albums that I've been spinning this week, and hopefully everyone enjoys it. And let's begin. The first album that I'm going to show off is actually celebrating its 30th anniversary today, and that's Sepultura's Roots. I think everyone who's into Sepultura knows about this album and how this album has a more new metal, groove metal sound, and Sepultura basically abandoned all the thrashiness from the previous work and went down the whole new metal, groove metal sound. But I've learned to really appreciate this album for what it is, and this album does have its moments, and I think this is a pretty decent Sepultura album. And the last album that to feature Max Cavalera on it, and this is a decent album to um leave or go off on, I guess, for Max Cavalera. So yeah, Sepultura's Roots is a pretty decent album if you want that groove metal or new metal sound. But yeah, it has its moments. It has its moments. So yeah, Sepultura's Roots, pretty decent album, like I said. Okay, next up is Suicidal Tendencies, Suicidal for Life. Yeah, yeah. This band's basically a band that everyone should know. They blend crossover thrash, hardcore, and just a staple in the whole early '90s, well, late '80s, early '90s crossover thrash, hardcore, straight up metal sound. But I think Suicide for Life is a really underrated and overlooked gem of an album. Like I said, they play like '90s hardcore crossover thrash, and you get plenty of that on here. And yeah, I just feel like this album tends to get overlooked or is underrated and doesn't get enough love or recognition. So, but I still think this is a pretty good album by Suicidal Tendencies. So yeah, Suicidal Tendencies, Suicidal for Life. A pretty good album from them, and definitely an album that needs more love and recognition, in my opinion. Really good stuff, if you ask me. Okay, the next two albums are from the same band. The first one being Body Count, Born Dead. Yeah, this is the rap metal band that Ice T formed um, during the early '90s, and I think Born Dead is a pretty good rap metal album that has that crossover thrash and hardcore sound, and shows some real aggression. And Ice T's rapping on here just adds more fuel to the fire. And yeah, this is actually a really good body count album. Born Dead is just a solid rap metal, crossover thrash, hardcore album, and Ice T is just firing on all cylinders on this album. So yeah, Body Counts, Born Dead. A really good album from them. And the next Body Count album is the latest album, Merciless. Again, more of the same, just that hardcore crossover thrash. Except I think the production on here makes the guitar riffs a little bit more heavier, and Ice T is on top of his game on here, just showing some aggression and has a lot of things to say through his rapping on this album. But yeah, this is just another solid body count album. Merciless is, well, a merciless album full of riffs, aggression, solos, and it's just a solid crossover thrash. Yeah, crossover thrash album with some hardcore moments here and there, and Ice T just being Ice T. So yeah, Body Count's Merciless, an excellent album from them. Okay, next up is Godflesh, Us and Them. Now, Godflesh are an industrial metal band from the early 90s who was more famous for the album Street Cleaner, but I think on Us and Them, they kind of abandoned the meta aspects and went for a more industrial electronic sound that sounds like something you hear from like a goth club or like from like a late 90s goth club or something. But for like an industrial electronic sound on Us and Them, this is some pretty decent stuff. While I wish it was more industrial metal, if you're into like more electronic, industrial, and a bit of techno thrown in with a dark and brooding atmosphere, I think Godflesh, Us and Them is a pretty good album if you're into like industrial electronic sound. So not a bad album from Godflesh. So Us and Them by Godflesh. Okay, the last two albums I've been spinning this week is from the same band. The first one being Chaos in the album And the Circus Leaves Town. A very underrated but solid stoner metal, stoner rock album. That some has some great riffs, some great songs, and an album that I don't hear a lot of Chaos fans talk about, but this is actually a pretty good album from them, and yeah, this is just a start. This is a solid, yes, a solid stoner rock, stoner metal album from Chaos. Underrated, but still a good album. So yeah, and the Circus Leaves Town by Chaos. Good stuff right here. And the last album that I've been spinning this week is a classic from Chaos, and that's Welcome to Sky Valley by Chaos. This is definitely a breakthrough album for this band. A very, very good classic stoner rock, stoner metal album, and the album that really put Chaos on the map. Some great riffs, great solos, and if you're into that stoner rock, stoner metal sound, and maybe some hard rock leanings and a bit of heavy metal thrown in, this is a great place to start if you want to get into Chaos. So yeah, Chaos, Welcome to Sky Valley, a classic album from Chaos from the 90s. Really good stuff. Excellent stuff, I should say. And that's pretty much it. That's everything I've been spinning this week. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and see you next time in my next video whenever that happens. So, thanks for watching.